So, good morning, class. Good day or good afternoon, whatever time you are going to watch this video. So, today's discussion is all about variable. We have discussed or we will discuss this in our class, but I am recording this so you have something to review even though you are just in your house. So variable, it is an observable characteristic or phenomena of a person or object whereby the members of the group or set vary or differ from one another. So you need to remember the word characteristics vary from one another. So these are the things that you look at the person or characteristic of a person that is different from the other. One example is our preferences of color, preferences of taste. So the taste, the uh, the taste that we like is different from the other. So that's the meaning of variable. It has a capacity of taking different values representing a certain category. It is from the word capacity of taking different values of certain category. For example, we like sour, we like bitter, and that's the category for taste. We like the sweet smell, the foul odor. We don't like that one. So the category for that is smell. Okay, so and we call that one variable. Smell variable, gender, those are variables. It is considered raw data or materials gathered by a researcher or investigator for statistical analysis, usually expressed by the symbol XYZ. Raw data because when we say raw data, there is no statistical or statistics that has been used to summarize the data. So your responses to a particular survey is what we call as raw data. Examples for that is your weight, your height, your sex, your year level, your age, your IQ, your achievement, test scores, and etc. So these are the example of variable. So if we look back to the meaning of variable, we have here it's differ from one another. So our weight differ from one another, right? So when I say, what are your variables of interest? So you're going to mention the variable of interest, not the 60 kilogram, because that is your data. You're going to think of a particular category of a certain group. So a group could have a weight, a height, a sex, year level, age, IQ, achievement test. And the responses here vary from one member to another. So that is variable. So a variable could be distinguished into two. Actually, there is also another there is another category for categorizing a variable, but in this slide, we are distinguishing discrete variable and continuous variable. So when we say discrete variable, these are the variables that can be obtained through counting. So this is whole number. Therefore, there is no, we cannot use to point something. For example, number of deaths. Are there a number of deaths that 4.5? Half of your body is dead and half of your body is alive. So that is discrete variable. From the word counting, this is the thing here that you need to remember is the word discrete as relate to counting. So it should be a countable variable. So you have birds, number of birds. We could not have point something there. Students, there is no half students, and there is, of course, no one-fourth students, and marriage at any given time. So we cannot have half marriage or three-fourth marriage. So that is discrete variable. It is a counting number or a whole number that is discrete. Opposite of discrete is continuous. When we say continuous, these are variable which may assume any of an infinite number of values and can be associated with points in the continuous line interval. So the point something is very important, and it is reasonable or rational that there is the point something of a particular variable is very important. For example, the age. We can have 4.5 years old, 4.5 months old, and then the height we could have in centimeter, in the unit of the height could have in centimeter or in meter, and the point something is very significant. The thing here is when you distinguish it, you need to distinguish the variable into discrete and continuous. When we say discrete, it is countable, while when we say continuous, the point something is very important. Along with it is the volume, areas, time, and etc. There are a lot of variables that we can consider that the point something is very important. So we are now done. We are now done in discussing discrete and continuous variable. Now let's go to our dependent and independent variable. This one is another category of variable. We have independent variable and dependent variable. From the word independent means a variable can stand alone without a particular variable. But dependent, it can stand alone from the word depend. So this one, independent, can stand alone, and dependent cannot stand alone. So if you are an independent woman, you do not rely on your boyfriend, you can live by yourself. If you are an independent student, you do not rely with your friends in answering stuff. But if you are a dependent girlfriend, you cannot go to some places if your boyfriend will not come to you. So just a literal meaning of independent and dependent. But we are now talking about variables. So for the independent variables, these are the variables controlled by the experimenter, researcher, and expected to have an effect on the behavior of the subject. The example for this, the concrete example for this is the plant. We have the plant height and the amount of fertilizer we put on the plant height. So this one, the variables controlled here is the fertilizer. Now, we want to have it an effect on the plant height. So we are hypothesizing that if we put a lot of fertilizer, there would be an increase of plant height. Or we hypothesize that if there is an overuse of fertilizer, your plant will be stunted or a negative effect to your plant height. So the dependent variable in the example is the plant height because the plant height might be dependent with the amount of fertilizer you're going to put on your plant. These are the sum measure of the behavior of subjects and expected to be influenced by the independent variable. So for the given example, we have discussed the fertilizer and then the plant height. So another example for dependent and independent, still using the dependent variable, which is the plant height, we can use the amount of sunlight uh, the plant absorb. So independent, usually the inputs, and then for the dependent is the output variable. So that is the second category. Now we will go to the third category of variables. We have the qualitative and quantitative data. When we say qualitative data, these are categorical data, which takes the form of categories or attributes such as sex, course, year level, race, religion, and etc. So this is quite confusing when you do research because if they see a word qualitative, they are referring it already to a qualitative research. But no, when we say qualitative research, we are not involving frequencies and percentages or whatever numbers. We are just interviewing and analyzing the words uttered by the respondents. But even in quantitative data, we also have qualitative, I mean, even in quantitative researches, we also have qualitative data. These usually are sex because the quality, we are referring to a certain characteristics that cannot be quantified. Can we quantify sex? We cannot quantify sex, right? So that falls to the qualitative data. Another examples is year level. Yes, we can quantify the year level as to 1, 2, 3, and 4 for first year, 1 for second year, 2, and for third year is 3, and for fourth year is 4. But year level is we are using it qualitative data because um, when you are first year, you are assumed to have a lesser knowledge for that degree program. And when you reach on fourth year, you are assumed that you have a more quality knowledge when it comes to the degree program. And also religion is a qualitative data because we cannot quantify that um, some certain religion is better than the other religion. We also have here quantitative data as opposed to qualitative data. This data is we can quantify and it is presented in numerical data. This is obtained from the measurements like heights, weights, ages, scores, temperature, IQ, and other measurable quantities. So when we say quantitative data, these are the things that can be measured through some English metric system. So for example, the heights we measure it through centimeter to feet and any other measurement for height. And for weights, we have kilogram, pounds, and milligrams, like that. And ages, we measure it by years, like that. For scores, we measure it by the points. Temperature, we measure it by Fahrenheit or degrees Celsius. IQ is there is a particular unit for the IQ and other measurable quantities. So these are the difference between qualitative data and quantitative data. But then again, there are other researchers who are very confused about qualitative data because if it is mentioned in your results and discussion, they will automatically say that it is a qualitative research, where in fact the distinguish between qualitative and quantitative is qualitative is we are measuring or we are just surveying like five respondents and we are using their responses to arrive the conclusion about a certain research. But when we go to quantitative data, these are data that quantitative research, this involves surveys that could collect qualitative data and quantitative data. Okay, so maybe in further discussion about the difference between qualitative and quantitative research. Okay, next is this is the not really used in non-statistician environment, but this is very important when it comes to um, doing research. The scale of level of measurement. Yes, when you look at the data, you will identify it first if it is this one, if it is discrete or continuous. Then afterward, if it is independent or dependent variable, then you need to identify it if it is qualitative data or quantitative data. Then after identifying the type of variable you have, you need to see what is the scale of level of measurement. So we have units, and this one is scale of level measurement. So we have nominal scale, we have ordinal, we have interval, and ratio scale. Now, what are the differences between the four? When we say nominal scale, this is used only for identification or classification purposes. An example of it is qualitative variable, such as gender. And the category is male and female. We have mass communication major, we have advertising, broadcasting, journalism, public relation, human personality. It could be extrovert or introvert. Now, for qualitative variable, um, we cannot quantify this one. So usually when we say nominal scale, these are the variable that is used for classification. So this is the smallest. If you have a triangle here, the bottom is the nominal scale. So this is the weakest type of data that we can run only few statistical analysis for this one. Okay, so for ordinal scale, it does not only classify items, but also give the order or ranks of classes, items, or objects. Now this one, for qualitative variable, we can have student class designation, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. This can be category into ordinal scale, and this one also can be used as nominal scale. In research, we will be asking what is the highest scale of level of measurement we can utilize for that particular data. For the student class designation, the highest possible category we can have is the ordinal scale. We can also use this one for nominal, but the highest is ordinal scale. So we will identify the student class designation as ordinal scale because, again, in a scale of level of measurement, you need to use the highest one. And we also have here product classification. When we say product classification, we could rate it by unsatisfied, neutral, satisfied, very satisfied. Album rating, this one, student grades, could also be categorized as ordinal scale. But we will learn that student grades could be a ratio also. And ratio will be discussed in the next slide, and that is the highest or second to the highest level of measurement. So we can utilize student grades also, but student grades is can also be part of the ordinal scale because we can see here that one is greater than there is a ranking. So if we can see a data and there is a ranking, so that's automatically fall on the ordinal scale. However, there are data that could also be subject to higher level of measurement. So here, let's go back here to the product classification. For the classification, usually we are using the Likert scale data. If you remember, if you have done a survey, we are doing um, the Likert scale, the strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, and that is in ordinal scale. Usually, uh, in the research, they use it as an interval scale or ratio scale, but no, it is in ordinal scale because there is there is a, or there is a rank. When you say unsatisfied, then that is lesser. Okay, let's go to interval scale. In interval scale, it is used to classify, order, and differentiate between classes or categories in terms of degrees of differences. Example for this is temperature in degrees Celsius or degree Fahrenheit, or in angles in this one, or in radians. Now, interval scale is very tricky, but you just always remember that the value of zero is doesn't mean an absent of a data. So when we say 0 degrees Celsius, we still have a meaning of it. It is not an absent of data. Same goes with Fahrenheit. When we say 0 Fahrenheit, doesn't mean there is no temperature. Also in angles, we have here in radians, doesn't mean there is no angle. A ratio is different one because it in one aspect it has true 0 point with complete absence of the property being measured. So it doesn't mean here in ratio scale, meaning the presence of true zero does not really have a value. For example, here is weight in pounds per kilogram, age in years or days, salary in Philippine peso. So weight is when we say zero, so there is no weight. When we say age is zero, there is no age. And when we say salary and in zero, so you have no salary. That is ratio scale. But when you run this one into SPSS, interval scale and ratio scale is just in one category, which is scale. So usually the C and D is just same approach, but to classify them, when we say interval scale, there is no true value of zero, but for the ratio scale, there is true 0 point. So usually when we say interval scale, we just remember about temperature, the nature of temperature, and the nature of point of origin in a Cartesian plane. So in summary, when you look at the data, and identify the variables, you need to ask first, what is the type of data? First is it discrete or continuous? So you need to identify it. If it is dependent or independent. It is qualitative or quantitative. After identifying the type of data, you need to go to the level of measurement. The bottom one is the nominal. This is a weak data, but you can still use this one. And ordinal data is the second, and then you have the interval data and then the ratio data. Now, in analyzing that one, you will be using a descriptive statistics like this one. But I will discuss this one uh, in the next video. And this is the interpretation of descriptive statistics when we use this one, the ratio, interval, ordinal, and nominal. So the level of measurement is very important because you will be guided onto what descriptive statistics are you going to use. So after identifying the level of measurement, you need to look at what descriptive statistics are you going to use. So this would be further discussed. Descriptive statistics will be further discussed to my next video. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.